In a world where words can wound deeper than swords, silence becomes an enigmatic force wielding its own kind of power. There are those who see silence as a canvas for cowardice, a backdrop of defeat, and yet how beautifully daunting is the quiet resolve of a soul plotting its redemption. Think of the sovereign who waits with quiet anticipation, not out of fear but to gather strength for the imminent storm. This is no fairy tale where castles crumble under the weight of a dragon's roar. Rather, it unfolds in a space where shadows stretch wider than daylight, revealing fractures hidden within the facade of family bliss. Aurora stood at the heart of this quiet storm, neither a queen commanding legions nor a martyr acquiescing to fate. No, she was the silent sentinel whose heart had been shaped by tides of years both cruel and kind. Some betrayals echo louder in the silent corridors of the heart than in the raucous cries of a battleground. A mother once radiant with the unconditional joy of nurturing life now faces the cold indifference of the very heart she nourished. It was a family dinner, the kind meant to celebrate bond and togetherness, yet it carried the weight of unspoken tensions. As she entered her daughter Melissa's home, Aurora's heart danced between warmth and apprehension. Aurora's culinary offerings, prepared with care and sincerity, were her silent march into a once familiar territory, now marred with emotional landmines. She had labored over every dish as if seasoning them, not just with spices but with echoes of memories and love. Yet what awaited her was an iceberg of dismissal, cold and buoyant in an ocean of familial tension. Melissa's gaze was stone cold, her words cutting through the evening's pleasantries like a shard of ice. Imagine offering your heart on a platter only for it to be pushed aside. You too might question the very foundations of love, wondering what sinister alchemy transformed warmth into icy estrangement. Aurora saw it in Melissa's eyes, a look that spoke of chess moves calculated in the shadowed recesses of her mind. This was not the child she remembered, but rather a stranger lost in the labyrinth of their own designs. Aurora understood the language of silence better than most. Her silence was neither acceptance nor surrender. It was strategy, a quiet orchestration of future moves waiting to checkmate despair. As the evening unfurled, each polite insult and dismissive gesture added timber to the flame slowly awakening in her chest. In your own life, how often have you misjudged silence? Consider the misperceived weakness, the unwarranted pity for those who choose not to retaliate words with words, but instead sharpen their silence into the keenest weapon. Aurora's silence was her resilience, her solitude, a companion that whispered strategies of a quiet revolution. The evening reached its crescendo when Melissa, her duty as daughter starkly absent, insisted Aurora leave. With each dismissive word, Aurora felt the winds of change stirring around her. And while others might have capitulated to their hearts, fracturing under the weight of such a callous command, Aurora felt her resolve crystallize. What do you do when the ones you love place a dagger into your chest with the precision of a surgeon? Do you bleed quietly, or do you rise? Not with tears, but with the meticulous calculation of repossession, not just of property but of pride, of self. Walking away from the house that night, Aurora's heart was neither heavy nor light, but alight with purpose. That cold night marked the funeral pyre of outdated loyalties, fanning the flames of an internal metamorphosis. She realized that her silence was not her shroud, but her sword, waiting to unearth the truth, to dissect the layers of deceit, and to cut free from a web of manipulation spun by those who were meant to nurture. Heed this silence is only golden when it is a beacon of wisdom. Aurora was coming to understand that her silence was a currency trading in its stealth for a future reclaimed. What do you see when you look into the eyes of betrayal, a reflection of past misjudgments or a map to a future where you hold the pen writing the chapters untold? As she prepared to embark on this uncharted journey, Aurora knew her tale would not be one of revenge crafted from malevolence, but rather one of reclamation, a renaissance of love for oneself amid a field of shadows where trust had once flourished. In silence, she would craft her narrative, letting the echo of absence shape its own vengeance. In the dim light of a close friend's kitchen, Aurora lingered, her mind swirling with clarity, married to determination. The betrayal she felt was no longer a raw wound but a catalyst propelling her forward. Her resolve to take back control of her life was now a steadfast flame. The gathering of trusted friends expanded into a council of resurgence, each woman in the circle offering their own tales of battles once fought for their redemption. As they whispered words of encouragement, she saw not defeat but triumph. Rose, known for her unyielding honesty, was the first to speak. "Aurora, it's time you reclaim what's rightfully yours. Don't just walk away, walk toward something better." Mary nodded in agreement, her sympathetic eyes reflecting years of her own sacrifices and victories. Aurora found solace in their shared understanding, the collective wisdom of women who had faced similar crucibles. Anne, the lawyer in the group, provided practical advice, relaying stories of clients who had overcome similar hardships by redefining their boundaries and reasserting themselves. Their diverse experiences now converged, igniting a pathway to Aurora's strategic rebirth. Each story unfurled new layers of insight, painting a vivid tableau of paths both taken and yet to be chosen. These women reminded Aurora of her own strength, buried beneath years of involuntary submission to familial expectation. It was time to unearth it. Her focus shifted to transformation, shedding the chrysalis of dependency that her daughter Melissa had cultivated with such precision. Aurora realized that autonomy was not just an abstract desire but an achievable reality. To break free, to sever ties that strained her spirit, was not just a rebellion, it was an act of preserving dignity. Aurora's next step was articulated with the precision of a chess master executing a calculated move on the board. Her financial independence, once manipulated and obscured under the guise of familial duty, was now within reach through decisive action. Her first instinct was to restructure her financial landscape entirely. No piece of her legacy would inadvertently bolster the lives of those who had scorned her trust. The reallocation of resources would ensure her assets reflected the principles she held dear: compassion, ethics, and respect. It was as much an act of justice for herself as it was a protective measure. Facing the hard truth, she understood the need for legal counsel. A meeting with Mr. Hernandez, her steadfast legal advisor, was paramount. This step was not taken with animosity, but out of necessity. Just as one fortifies a bastion from the invasion, Aurora was set to reinforce her future from the erosion of insincerity. Her assets, her life's work and sacrifices would no longer fund betrayal or deception. The notion filled her, not with bitterness, but a newfound peace, a plan set in motion to redefine her worth by her own terms. With clarity embedded in her resolve, Aurora finally understood the enormity of the power she held, not in possessions, but in the freedom to choose her path. To liberate herself from the chains of disappointment would require challenging those who sought to bind her. This confrontation was not laced with the venom of retaliation, but rather the steadfastness of one who claims back what was taken from them. Aurora's journey of reclamation was beginning a narrative all too familiar, yet intensely personal, a dance of strategic measures and bold moves that cut through the haze of betrayal. In the days that followed, Aurora crafted her life anew, the pieces falling into place with each deliberate choice she made. Free from the weight of manipulation, she embraced activities that nurtured her patience and spirit. Simple pleasures, once overshadowed by discontent and anxiety, were treasures she unwrapped with curiosity and zest. Old hobbies were rediscovered, uninterrupted by demands of those who claimed to know her heart, yet had trampled upon it. Each new day brought opportunities, not challenges. The strength resonated through Aurora's small victories, simple acts of defiance against a narrative that no longer suited her. She began to weave a tapestry of choices, relationships rekindled under new conditions, gatherings punctuated with laughter that bore no shadows, finances meticulous and honest. With each plan executed flawlessly, with every meticulous decision rooted in foresight and wisdom, Aurora redefined her existence. What once was merely surviving was now thriving in a garden tended with care and caution, but above all with love for herself. Aurora's meeting with her lawyer, Mr. Hernandez, was not just a mere legal obligation, but a symbolic act of empowerment. The meeting room, formal and composed, mirrored the resoluteness burgeoning inside her. She sat across from him, a woman transformed, ready to take control of the narrative that had seemed insurmountable just weeks ago. The sheer weight of her past trials was lifted with every line of legalese. They meticulously crafted, rewriting not just her will, but her destiny. With poise, Aurora delved into the details, articulating her desires with clarity and unwavering conviction. She strategically rearranged her assets, realigning them with her newfound principles of fairness and justice. It was a necessary reset, a tangible assertion of accountability directed clearly at those who had sought to manipulate her kindness. The person she once was, gallant yet naive, had evolved into a figure no longer willing to be manipulated. Melissa and Chris would face the consequences of their schemes, their hollow sense of entitlement dismantling under the weight of Aurora's decisive resolve. This was not a punitive act, but a deliberate redirection of resources and love towards those deserving of it. It was a declaration that her legacy would not serve betrayal but would celebrate fortitude, resilience, and integrity. Mr. Hernandez, acknowledging her strategy, could only nod in understanding. Her legal empowerment was a masterstroke of planning, affirming Aurora's autonomy in ways that verbal confrontations alone could never achieve. For Aurora, the path forward was no longer obscured by emotional ties fraying at the edges. The harsh clarity of betrayal had refined her sight. Each word on paper was a testament to her journey, a roadmap toward a future unscathed by deceit and destructive familial dynamics. As they signed the final document, a sense of liberation enveloped her. Aurora was in control. This fortified mindset bolstered her as she exited the lawyer's office. The weight of unresolved conflict still loomed, but she was armed with evidence, facts poised to shed light on the manipulations that had long been her shadow. An unwavering determination guided her, and Aurora intended to confront Melissa and Chris openly and without flinching. In the ensuing confrontation, Aurora unveiled the recordings, the spreadsheets, detailing financial incongruities, tangible proof of their underhanded tactics. Melissa's face, usually marred by a facade of indifference, shifted through a medley of disbelief and shame. Chris was less eloquent in his reaction, stammering defenses that evaporated like mist under Aurora's steely gaze. Her words, deliberate and sharp, were not fueled by anger, but a serene determination to reclaim her autonomy. She allowed no entreaty to sway her, no tearful excuse to cloud her judgment. The confrontation marked a definitive turning point. A simmering silence filled the room, an oppressive recognition of boundaries newly drawn. Aurora's forgiveness was unyielding to manipulation. She would not relinquish her hard-won peace for the comfort of old patterns. Melissa and Chris were left to wrestle with their choices in their own time. The emotional battlefield was cleared, and with it, Aurora's path was now unimpeded by the scars of betrayal. The new narrative she was crafting ran deeper than past grievances. It was the purposeful construction of a life lived on her terms, vibrant and flourishing, rooted in self-respect and uncompromised values. Aurora moved forward, her steps now echoed by the rhythm of self-sufficiency and personal strength. Her life was hers alone, a vivid landscape becoming more technicolor with every choice she made. Aurora's journey from betrayal to empowerment was incrementally inked, solidifying her place as the architect of her fate, unshackled from any expectation but those she set for herself. As she ventured into this new chapter, Aurora's narrative was unapologetically her own, a testament to the profound resiliency that can only come from enduring and rising undeterred in the face of life's harshest trials. She emerged with intentions as clear as the sky above her, steadfast in her decision to embrace the joys and freedoms of her newly independent life. With Aurora's newfound agency, a transformation unfolds that reverberates through every facet of her life. This is the decisive course of empowerment, where actions rise above the hurdles of emotional despair and into the realm of calculated discipline. Legal preparations become a critical empowering tool as Aurora meets with her lawyer, Mr. Hernandez. Here, the emotional saga of betrayal and resistance finds its place alongside a courtroom's sober neutrality. The meeting room is sterile in its decor, an environment contrasting starkly against the emotional turmoil that has so far characterized Aurora's journey. As Mr. Hernandez opens the conversation, Aurora is ready, still carrying the scars of past betrayals, but now equipped with a plan as sharp and meticulous as a surgeon's scalpel. The essence of this meeting is not rooted in anger or malice, but in clarity and intention. Aurora methodically outlines shifts in her financial legacy, structural changes designed to reflect true respect and hard-earned wisdom. This legal rendezvous is more than a formality, it's a statement. By restructuring her will, Aurora draws boundaries that Melissa and Chris once blurred. Funds that were innocuously aligned to benefit them are now being redirected, a tangible consequence of their past transgressions. It's Aurora's way of asserting that trust once shattered demands accountability for restoration. She sees it not just as shielding her assets, but as planting seeds for a myriad of possibilities, that its redistribution could support a scholarship for underprivileged youth or a community project. The indifference that Melissa and Chris showed toward their mother morphs into a lesson on responsibility and respect. Mr. Hernandez, stoic and insightful, acknowledges Aurora's resolute spirit. He guides her through the legal complexities as one would unravel threads of a tangled web, ensuring her new directives are as unassailable as her newfound resolve. Aurora's journey is peppered with cautionary tales, a constant reminder of the pitfalls lurking in family dynamics. Manipulations once cryptic and surreptitious gave way to a cycle where exploitation was mistaken for entitlement. Aurora's narrative, however, turns that on its head. She clutches autonomy with pride, stepping out of her former role as an unsuspecting participant in their game. Here lies a deeper understanding in Aurora's acts. She embraces legal actions, not out of vengeful spite, but from a need to redefine her personal narrative. The power to turn the tables comes not from mere satisfaction in reprisal, but from rendering herself unassailable, refining her principles to withstand the weaknesses of those who once took advantage. It is a rebirth of both spirit and intent. By directing her inheritance towards causes and ventures that align with her values, Aurora does more than protect her assets. She injects purpose into her wealth, ensuring it mirrors the integrity she has fought to uphold. The stones laid in this legal foundation become the path on which Aurora builds a life unfettered by guilt or duty to appease familial ties turned toxic. Melissa and Chris, underestimating Aurora's conviction, become unwitting architects of the very fortress they sought to dismantle. They had perhaps assumed benefaction was eternal and unquestioned. Now the laws she enacts serve as a reminder that benefaction, like trust, can be revoked. Aurora is no longer tethered to the whims and desires of those who once rendered her invisible. This legal reorientation, while ostensibly simple, is profound in its implications. Every clause, every redirected asset speaks of lessons learned and strength howled into the winds of despair until it echoed back with certainty and control. For Aurora, the past is petrified into a guidepost, a resilient backbone, growing stronger with each remade decision. The legal world, once an intimidating maze, transforms into a landscape teeming with opportunities for justice and integrity. Aurora's steps, deliberate and poised, carry forth the echo of freedom as she leaves Mr. Hernandez's office. Her decisions are an unyielding testament to the resilience found in the aftermath of betrayal, an enduring symbol of the quiet, steady power of emotional and legal clarity. Her path is indelible, matched only by the constancy of her inexorable march toward an uncompromised future, reframing the narrative on her terms. As Aurora steps into the familiar confines of her daughter's home, a house once filled with warmth and familial bonds, an air of confrontation charges the atmosphere. Aurora carries with her a calm resolution honed through months of reflection and strategic legal maneuvering. It's a compelling confrontation, not one marked by raised voices or impassioned pleas, but by Aurora's quiet yet unshakable resolve. Melissa and Chris sit across from her, their expressions a blend of anxiety and expectancy. They still misinterpret Aurora's composed demeanor as an invitation to negotiate, believing perhaps that a mother's love can be easily manipulated. They've grown accustomed to seeing Aurora as the pliable cornerstone of the family, obediently supporting their dreams while quietly eroding her own. But what they hadn't anticipated was the turn of events. Aurora has unspooled their tangled web of deceit with the deftness of someone who has learned to see clearly through the fog of manipulation. She has recorded conversations. Every careless whisper shared in her presence now serves as testament to their betrayal. The financial statements are equally damning, a ledger of their avarice that Aurora presents unfalteringly. Melissa's attempt to dismiss these revelations is predictable, laced with the hollow warmth of manufactured sincerity. "Mom, you misunderstand. It was all for the family," she insists, but the words falter against the steely wall of Aurora's gaze. Aurora stands firm, her posture straight and unwavering, not out of anger but from a deep-seated need to assert her boundaries. The time for confessions had passed. Their misguided entanglement has been stripped bare by Aurora's diligence, deceptive investment plans, and phantom projects that they had passed off as worthy of her endorsement. Aurora's response is simple, her voice calm, belying the storm they might have expected. "No longer will my silence be a consent for your actions." Her decision isn't merely financial but embodies her newfound commitment to personal integrity and autonomy. As she mechanically rebuffs Chris's patronizing reassurances, the sensation isn't one of vengeance, rather it is liberation. The ties that once bound her reality to theirs slip away, severed cleanly by the razor edge of truth. Chris attempts another angle, his charm as rehearsed as ever, but it flits ineffectively past Aurora. There are no half-hearted promises or affectionate flattery potent enough to penetrate the armor of her now fortified independence. She triumphs in the reality of her own life, no longer inclined to navigate their turbulent waters without oars. She is a beacon of steadiness, a lighthouse of self-respect guiding her through the waves of familial manipulation. In this moment of confrontation, the focus shifts from what has been lost to what is being gained, personal freedom, and the redefinition of family dynamics on her terms. Aurora is ignited not by wrath but by the clarity of a future where her existence is no longer a footnote in someone else's ledger. Her journey is populated with lessons of betrayal interwoven with the fiber of resilience, creating a tapestry of strength upon which her future is projected. Even as Melissa's facade begins to crumble under the weight of unveiled deception, Aurora finds no satisfaction in their discomfort, no desire to dwell in their downfall. The confrontation, far from a crowning victory, laced with vindictive delight, is a close portrait of closure, a pivotal chapter turned with the care of one who now knows their worth, apart from others' validation. Aurora rises, signaling a close to their one-sided negotiations. The confrontation has served its purpose, illuminating where she stands now. She refuses to continue investing emotionally or financially in relationships built on false foundations. Aurora's departure from their home mirrors a greater departure from past missteps, a forward pivot towards a future crafted by her own values and choices. The aftermath of the family confrontation is a new beginning, a clear demarcation between what was tolerated and what will no longer be. Aurora's journey doesn't end here. It evolves, trampling shallow fears and embracing the vast potential of depths yet uncharted. Her existence reverberates with the strength of one who has reclaimed her narrative, her actions resonating as a beacon of reclaimed power and quiet dignity. In that silent triumph, Aurora steps away, a woman unbound, a saga penned with integrity, and a newfound chapter beginning with unadulterated hope. The sun rises on a day that feels distinctively new to Aurora. It's more than just another rotation of the Earth, it's a rotation in her universe that pivots around her decisions, her independence, and her wisdom. The echoes of the past now whisper, hardly audible in the shadow of her newfound autonomy. The financial and legal arrangements she's painstakingly reshaped act as a sturdy fence safeguarding her future from exploitation. In the quiet enclave of her intention, Aurora has become a fortress impervious to the deceit that once ensnared her. In her newfound freedom, Aurora finds herself gravitating towards simple pleasures no longer marred by the specter of manipulation. Her days now brim with activities of her choosing: morning jogs where she breathes in the crisp morning air, unburdened afternoons, spent volunteering at a local shelter where her efforts are genuine gestures of care, and evenings dedicated to a book club where ideas flow freely, untainted by judgment or contempt. Financial empowerment is key to Aurora's journey, and she understands the significance of managing it with assertive wisdom. Her accounts, once tied in unholy bonds to those she thought trustworthy, are now exclusively under her control. Gone are the days when she felt the chilling touch of doubt while others handled her affairs. She has taken back the reins. Every financial decision is a step towards building a fortress of stability that no one can dismantle with deceit or demands. Aurora's legal consultations have become a masterclass in precision and protection. Her lawyer, Mr. Hernandez, has crafted documents that ensure her wishes govern her legacy, every word, every clause a testament to her resolve. She's ensured that her assets reflect her ethics, diverting funds to causes and individuals who mirror her newfound clarity. The withdrawal of support from Melissa and Chris is not a punitive move, but a necessary recalibration of trust and accountability. As Aurora reclaims her independence, the liberation she feels is tempered with mindfulness. She understands that her journey is hers alone to traverse, marked by conscious choices that uphold her dignity. Her home, once a sphere of conflict, now blooms with peace, a haven of tranquility painted with her personality, each corner adorned with moments that bring her joy. She eats what she craves, watches what stirs her soul, and listens to music that speaks to an unencumbered heart. Social ventures that once demanded obligatory attendance are replaced by gatherings that build genuine connection. A Sunday brunch with Rose, Mary, and Anne becomes a ritual of shared strength, a weekly rite where laughter and stories weave a tapestry of understanding and support. It's here that Aurora feels the richness of female camaraderie, empowering and validating the fortress she's constructed around her essence. In this newly minted life, Aurora rises early to the sound of possibility. She plants a small garden, nurturing each seedling not only with water and soil, but with the symbolic care for her cultivated future. These pecans and daisies represent the burgeoning freedom and potential mapped in each budding shoot, a silent promise that life, when lived on one's own terms, flourishes. Aurora's sponsorship of a series of enlightening workshops on financial literacy at the local community center reflects her journey coming full circle. It's not just about her rebirth, but about ensuring others can forge their paths unburdened by naivety or exploitation. Her knowledge, stripped bare by betrayal, is now a shared resource dispensed with the gentle authority of one who has traveled that rugged road and emerged astute. Aurora's independence is palpable, almost tangible, unfurling with an undeniable assurance. It's not merely the absence of coercion or pressure, but an enlivening of her spirit, a soft rebirth underscored by purposeful living. Each act, whether as small as a potted plant on the windowsill or as profound as setting up an independent trust, augments her autonomy and fortifies her resolve. To those who watched Aurora from the sidelines, the transformation appears almost alchemical. A woman once subsumed by obligations now stands solitary and self-sufficient, the architect of an existence that sings her truth. It becomes clear that her strength is not a shield to isolate her from the world, but a foundation upon which she rebuilds and reclaims her narrative. Herein lies the lesson learned and shared through Aurora's eyes, the realization that independence is not an end but a beginning. A lifelong journey walked at the pace of truth, guided by integrity, driven by self-worth. It echoes in the breezes that stir her heart with hope and courage to embrace a destiny she sculpted with her own hands. Aurora is free to create without encumbrances, finding profound satisfaction in the new symphony of her unshackled life. Melissa's life, once painted with a palette of complacency and reliance, now stands abruptly stark against the arid backdrop of consequence. Separated from her mother's emotional and financial lifeline, Melissa is plunged into a cold realism. The comfortable safety net so meticulously woven by Aurora over the years is now a distant memory, leaving Melissa to teeter on the tightrope of her own self-made crises. Despite her earlier bravado, Melissa's reality cascades around her with an unrelenting inevitability. Thoughts of regret swell in her mind, each one a wave of missed opportunities and unheeded warnings. Her mother's absence is more than just a gap in her financial statement, it's a chasm in her soul, a reminder of every instance of disregard she offered in response to Aurora's generosity. She finds herself grappling with an ensemble of personal and financial burdens, an encumbered solo journey unfamiliar and frightening. Credit card bills tower like looming specters once easily dismissed into Aurora's attentive hands. Now they sit ominously on her kitchen table, demanding accountability she had never needed to muster. And there's no Chris to shoulder the blame or share the weight. His departure, a much-anticipated divorce that only underscores her solitude, slices an additional swath through her once seemingly ordered life. Her introspection is a hesitant dance, faltering but earnest. She wonders what fueled her unrelenting detachment and disdain for the very woman who gifted her life and stability. Why was her heart so insistent on refusing grace? As Melissa reflects, each memory is a step towards clarity, a rehearsal for the painful yet liberating act of acceptance and potential reconciliation. Detachment from Aurora's support isn't merely Melissa's punishment, but also her awakening. Here begins her education in empathy, a subject ignored until its absence became a piercing ache. The calls she once screened, the texts she ignored, a tapestry of passive aggression, now reveal a deeper truth. They signify the missed whispers of maternal wisdom and affection, dismissed out of hand but deeply cherished now in their silence. The process of self-realization is as painful as it is essential. Melissa's nights blur into introspective marathons, wrestling with her choices and scouring their roots. She finds herself devoid of the burning questions of what if, instead, compelled by the simple urgency of what now. The severity of her mistakes stares back at her unrelenting and unsympathetic. It becomes evident to Melissa that her path forward is not solely paved by forgiveness but buttressed by change. Initially resistant, she begins to reconceptualize autonomy not as independence from Aurora, but as responsibility for her own actions. It's a crucial shift that underscores her character's evolution and signals an undercurrent of hope. For what is the value of hardship without the prospect of growth? Melissa stands at a pivotal intersection. Reconciliation with Aurora might be a distant hope, but it is not an impossible one. The first step is ownership of her narrative, unflinching accountability accompanied by an unwritten promise of future amendments. She faces the prospect of confronting her mother not as an adversary but as a daughter yearning for connection. Parallel to this struggle is a beacon of optimism, an aspiration for eventual familial restoration. The realization of Aurora's unyielding strength and independent spirit fills Melissa not with envy but admiration. She recognizes that the journey towards healing is an intricate dance balancing vulnerability and strength. Melissa's future actions must speak louder than words, her genuine resolve a quiet testament to her sincerity. Each day presents as an opportunity for incremental progress, a chance for Melissa to prove she can shoulder her responsibilities with dignity. There is beauty in the rawness of her transformation, in the reflection of every flaw polished into wisdom by the contours of time and introspection. Melissa's journey henceforth is not defined by the absence of mistakes but by the courage of confronting them head-on. Her path is carved with the lessons learned at this intersection of consequence and responsibility. And while she walks alone for now, her steps echo with the possibility of future reunions built on mutual respect and understanding. The narrative of her life, once discordant and disjointed, slowly tunes itself to a hopeful harmony, each note a promise of healing and renewal. With the storm of familial discord beginning to settle, Aurora finds liberation in a newfound routine that enriches her life in ways previously unimaginable. The shackles of expectation and obligation that her daughter Melissa placed upon her have fallen away, revealing a path to personal freedom and fulfillment. Aurora's days are no longer consumed by others' demands. Instead, she carves out a life of her own design, a tapestry woven with threads of joy, autonomy, and purpose. Immersed in diverse social outings and volunteer work, Aurora discovers the restorative power of pursuing interests that align with her true self. She volunteers at a local animal shelter, a place brimming with unspoken gratitude and eager wagging tails. Her mornings begin not with the chaos of family strife, but with the calming routine of feeding these animals, whose unyielding affection offers her profound solace. Aurora soon becomes a beacon of positivity within her community, her vibrant spirit drawing admiration from newfound friends and acquaintances alike. As she moves through this reinvented phase of life, Aurora dusts off past hobbies once set aside for the sake of duty. Her afternoons fill with the rich aroma of oil paints and the intricate dance of brushstrokes on canvas. Each painting becomes a mirror reflecting her internal landscape, a vivid portrayal of her journey from despair to empowerment. These creative expressions serve as both an emotional release and a testament to her burgeoning independence. The evenings bring about spirited gatherings with her tribe of supportive companions, Rose, Mary, and Anne, the steadfast friends who stood by her side through turbulent times. Their get-togethers often turn into celebrations of life, punctuated by bouts of laughter that echo well into the night. These women, fearless and formidable, have become her family by choice, enriching her world with a depth of connection and solidarity she once thought irretrievable. Aurora's soul blooms in this environment, nourished by meaningful connections and activities that resonate with her core values. As the roots of her new routine deepen, she feels a shift, an inward evolution where contentment and satisfaction replace the despondence that had shadowed her past. Her renewed vibrancy does not go unnoticed by those around her, sparking a contagious effervescence that lingers wherever she goes. Despite the liberation her new life has afforded her, Aurora remains acutely aware of the absence of familial ties. She reflects on this solitude not as a void but as a vestibule to something more profound, a chance for introspection and self-discovery. Her choices and actions are not forged by a thirst for vengeance against Melissa, but by a resolve to nurture peace within herself. This transformation extends beyond breaking free from toxic dynamics. It is about reclaiming her narrative, shining as an unapologetically independent woman who stands resilient and unyielding in adversity's face. In weaving the tapestry of her day-to-day, Aurora acknowledges the subtle whisper of bygone expectations, choosing instead to focus on moments of quiet triumph. She becomes an anchor of stability within herself, embodying a strength that reverberates throughout her community, friends, and perhaps someday, her estranged family. With each deliberate step, she builds a life defined not by scarcity but by abundance, a life where her desires and happiness take precedence. And in this reprisal, she does more than thrive. She offers an aspirational example illustrating the ineffable power of personal reinvention and resilience. Aurora illuminates the path forward not only for herself, but for those who may one day seek to follow in her footsteps toward independence and fulfillment. Her journey serves as a powerful reminder that through the stormiest of familial betrayals and subsequent upheavals, the seeds of joy and renewal can and do blossom again. The narrative re-enters the realm of emotional complexity as Melissa hesitates at the threshold of communication, a bridge she once thought irreparably burned. Apologies and reconnections are often fraught with trepidation, yet for Melissa, the urge to mend what she had once recklessly shattered pushes her beyond mere hesitance into action. She picks up the phone, her fingers tentative, knowing well that her words could either be a balm or a splinter. As the dial tone hums, she braces herself not for immediate forgiveness, but to face the reverberations of her past decisions, an act of both vulnerability and resolve. The call is answered not by a mother hungry for redemption, but by a woman renewed from her past enslavement to familial cruelty. Aurora listens, her silence heavy with the wisdom of a life reshaped and intentions scrutinized. The backdrop of their turbulent past serves only as a reminder of the strength she now possesses. There's an inflection in Melissa's voice that marks the difference between prior manipulations and sincere contrition. As Melissa voices her apologies, recognition dawns. This isn't a plea for the comfort of old patterns, but a cautious step towards genuine change. Forgiveness is a landscape fraught with the paradox of human behavior. It requires not just the articulation of remorse, but an embodiment of change. For Melissa, this means demonstrating rather than just professing her intent through lasting alterations in behavior and attitude. Aurora, weary of promises broken as casually as they were made, remains judicious. She understands that forgiveness, while powerful, often needs the scaffold of time to build trust anew. The past echoes with reminders of how easily the old wounds could open with a careless flinch. Yet within her lies an openness to redemption, a testament to her own journey of personal evolution and empathy's enduring power. In lowering her defenses slightly, Aurora offers a breadcrumb trail towards reconciliation, conditional and cautious as it may be. She is acutely aware that the complexity of forgiveness lies in its capacity to transform both the giver and receiver, a transformation born not out of obligation, but genuine rediscovery and respect. This marks more than a potential reconciliation. It represents a monumental shift in a previously contentious battle of wills. Melissa's acknowledgement of this chance as an opportunity rather than entitlement signals the potential for a relationship refashioned by sincerity. While Aurora stakes her ground firmly on respect and integrity, Melissa's path to redemption will be paved with ongoing efforts. Redemption, much like trust, has to be earned and re-earned through consistent actions that align with mature reflection. So begins a delicate dance, where each step of outreach must be met with reticent acceptance, measured and cautious. No longer shackled by past grievances, Aurora maintains the upper hand, wielding it not as a weapon of control but as leverage for her own peace and assurance. The negotiation of these new terms of engagement glows softly under the mantle of psychological resilience. It is a mutually tacit understanding that redemption does not erase the past, but rewrites the future with strokes of humility and hope. Melissa finds herself learning, truly learning for the first time, how actions and empathy can heal deeper than words in the temporal space they now occupy. She understands that her mother will nurture this possibility lest it abide the ailments of their history, while defying the fragility of premature assumptions of closeness long violated. Thus unfolds a narrative where both strength and vulnerability find their footing. The themes of forgiveness and redemption shine through, illuminating the path forward for not just two estranged souls, but possibly an entire family once separated by strife. It is here, amidst the complexity of emotions and intentions, that the story's fabric begins to weave its intricate patterns anew. What emerges is a tapestry of cautious optimism, where the power of reconciliation competes with the scars of betrayal, yet does not erase them. Instead, these scars become facets of a shared experience, etched into their shared psyche, yet softened by the promise of a better, more respectful tomorrow. Aurora's eyes are firmly fixed on the future, awaiting, observing, and perhaps in time forgiving. Aurora and her granddaughter Marina share a bond that resonates like an untouched chord in a symphony tainted by discord. In their connection, one finds a glimpse of hope that often seems distant in the larger web of familial relationships. Here is a sanctuary untouched by past grievances, a space where love flourishes untethered by the sins of fathers and mothers. Marina, with her youthful innocence and unguarded affection, represents to Aurora all that is pure and uncorrupted by family unrest. She is the embodiment of second chances, where the past does not tarnish the present nor dictate the future. It is this untarnished love that invigorates Aurora, her heart swelling with a joy that feels altogether novel and deeply familiar. Marina's laughter, untouched by the shadows of resentment and betrayal, rings out like the welcome notes of a new chapter. Aurora, seasoned by life's vicissitudes, finds solace and strength in nurturing this bond with her granddaughter. Her interactions with Marina provide a reprieve from the strife that once gnawed at her peace. They are a window into what could be, rather than what has been. Through Marina's innocent eyes and unfiltered love, Aurora glimpses a fragment of redemption, a chance to do right not by unmaking the past but by building a future. The pure joy that radiates from Marina leads Aurora to moments of self-reflection. She begins to appreciate how familial ties, especially those free from the weight of past misdeeds, can offer profound meaning and healing. Within their shared moments, whether they are baking cookies or exploring outdoor adventures, lies the authenticity of a relationship unsullied by expectations or hidden agendas. Marina teaches Aurora the silent strength of vulnerable love, a love that asks for nothing but gives everything. This relationship steers Aurora toward the realization that despite the fracture with Melissa, there exists a part of her lineage that remains unmarred by history's harsh etchings. It is a small, yet significant comfort. Here is a bond fashioned not from blood obligations but from genuine joy and shared moments. Marina, in her carefree spirit, shows Aurora the beauty of love unburdened by the past, the love of a grandmother for her granddaughter, undiminished by the world's failings. In this space between them, Aurora doesn't merely partake in the act of loving. She becomes a custodian of an unspoken promise, a promise to nurture their connection without the specters of guilt, resentment, or expectations looming over. In this promise lies a whispered hope, one that suggests that while one part of the family ebbs under the strain, another can flow with renewed affection and understanding. Aurora's resolve to protect this untouched relationship becomes a testament to her transformation. She embraces the responsibility with open hands, weaving the thread of trust, laughter, and encouragement through each moment spent with Marina. They become allies in simplicity, finding delight in the mundane, the building blocks of an unfettered bond. Whether it's reading fairy tales or embarking on imaginative adventures, Aurora's time with Marina is a reprieve from the complex tapestry of family painted in vibrant strokes of unconditional love. Yet while Aurora wades in her serenity, she acknowledges the journey isn't solely about finding solace. Through Marina, she seeks to impart lessons of resilience, kindness, and forgiveness, virtues she herself has had to navigate through the labyrinth of familial adversity. In doing so, Aurora hopes to plant seeds that encourage Marina to cultivate an emotional haven, one distinct from the chaotic love she witnessed between Aurora and Melissa. Aurora's interaction with her granddaughter serves as a gentle reminder that within every fractured family lies potential for healing. Through the eyes of the youngest, old wounds can find new pathways to closure, even if indirectly. It is Aurora's silent prayer that as Marina grows, she carries within her the lessons of reconciliation woven with love, a love that recognizes the past without being imprisoned by it. Thus, in the joyful noise of Marina's laughter and the warmth of their shared moments, lies the nascent beginning of a healing process, one that neither denies nor wallows in old wounds, but embraces the transformative potential of love reborn. In its simplest, unconditioned form, Marina becomes Aurora's anchor, holding steady the belief that family in its purest essence can transcend the bitterness of betrayal and the silence of estrangement. It is a poignant reminder that sometimes the future can heal what the past has broken, renewing familial ties one joyful encounter at a time. Melissa's letter arrived on a quiet afternoon, its envelope worn around the edges, carrying the weight of words unsaid for far too long. As Aurora opened it, anticipation mingled with trepidation. She knew this letter might be a rend in her carefully mended emotional tapestry, or the first cohesive stitch toward repairing old twisted threads. The letter was transformative, holding the potential to redefine everything that had unraveled between mother and daughter. Melissa's script, nearly unrecognizable in its sincerity, sketched a portrait of a woman beneath her self-crafted armor. She laid bare her struggles, peeling back layers of a hardened persona to reveal raw vulnerability. The labyrinth of emotions she navigated filled each line: pain, regret, a resolve blooming quietly amidst remorse. Melissa's words illustrated a journey that diverged sharply from the path of bitterness she had walked. They revealed pathways to self-awareness and authentic metamorphosis carved by her own hands. Perhaps most striking was Melissa's acknowledgement of her own failings, words that bespoke the reflection of a mirrored reality she had long shunned. She detailed the unraveling of her marriage to Chris, a partnership stitched with threads pulled taut by deception and unmet expectations. The divorce was not just an event but an epiphany that shattered illusions, allowing clarity to seep through fractured veneers. Through her confession, Melissa highlighted a burgeoning understanding of the patterns that had ensnared her life and her desperate want for change. Aurora, reading, felt a crescendo of emotions. Recognition of the familiar pain, the nuances of disillusionment, and the hope when one dares to defy past shadows, all wove into a simmering realization. A cursory glance at the past may suggest irretrievable losses, yet here was Melissa daring a confession that bore potential reconciliation's seed. Melissa's candid reflections pierced through the walls of resentment like sunlight through cracked blinds, illuminating the darkness within. Her letter was both a personal catharsis and an olive branch extended with trembling hands, the duality as evident as the actions penned on paper. In the reality of Melissa's admission, the groundwork for critical dialogue was laid bare. It was an implicit plea, her words choreographed a dance of tentative rapprochement. She sought to move past the transactional already done and reach a space where respect could flourish anew. Would Aurora choose to join in this delicate ballet? Would she dare extend her forgiveness as a partner to this new dynamic? The choice was heavy, yet illuminated, with the promise of something profound, a reunion not just of family but of two, souls drifting tentatively towards common ground. Melissa's letter marked not just a chapter's close, but a departure toward unfamiliar territories where undistorted mirrors reflect the essence of truth. Each sentence seemed suspended in a fragile balance between fear and aspiration, the gravity of past actions acknowledged alongside a tangible hope for redemption. Aurora now found herself at a crossroads, where reading the letter extended beyond interpretation into decision-making. The letter's intimacy and humility invited her into earnest conversations, paved with hard-won truths and softened by the resilience of renewed love. The door to reconciliation had been cracked open, almost as if daring Aurora to take a peek inside, to witness the tentative beauty hidden within a forgiveness well-earned and long withheld. She faced a choice that transcended simple forgiveness. It demanded a thorough unraveling of past grievances and an embrace of vulnerable truths. It asked for open arms where they had previously been crossed in defiance. Could she allow herself the grace of this return to familial love tempered by the calloused history etched onto both their hearts? In many ways, what Melissa sought was not just pardon but authentic engagement, a testament etched from both past and future to forge a hopeful legacy. Her journey toward redemption, witnessed through this letter, was an intricate dance within her mind's theater, a grand drama unraveling, setting the stage for new dialogues rooted not just in shared history but shared dreams for what could yet be mended. This letter was laden not only with responsibility, but with the power to transmute pain into growth. A realization that alone they were merely silhouettes against the fading backdrop of time. Together, they might transform into vibrant portraits of compassionate reconciliation. This moment of opening a gateway into the vast terrain of familial healing and honest connection was Melissa's gift, wrapped in the artistry of her vulnerable truths. It lay now in Aurora's hands to guard carefully, to explore fully, and perhaps to engage with in renewed light. Aurora stood amidst the quiet hum of her newly organized life, a soft tranquility washing over her. Her journey had traversed the turbulent storm of betrayal and hurt, yet she emerged with a newfound lightness. This was no small feat. In stepping away from the chaos that had threatened to consume her, Aurora carved out sacred spaces within her heart, where peace and joy now thrived. It became evident that her past experiences were not chains but rather stepping stones, leading her toward a more fortified self. The pain once etched into her soul had softened, as though acknowledging its role in crafting a more resilient spirit. Aurora began to notice the subtle beauty in everyday moments, moments which had previously been clouded by unresolved strife and discord. Her days, now crafted from deliberate choices, emerged as a tapestry of fulfilled promises to herself. Each decision reflected an unwavering commitment to respect and understanding, stitched together by the threads of hard-earned wisdom. These reflections were not without the looming shadow of Melissa's earnest efforts to repair what was once broken. Her mother's cautious optimism, previously overshadowed by the fear of repeated betrayal, started to take root in more fertile soil. The rich texture of sincerity in Melissa's most recent missive was unmistakable, akin to the resonance of an old melody finally unmarred by discordant notes. It was a tentative symphony of regret, paired with a genuine desire for reconciliation and growth. Could these changing dynamics foster a relationship not marred by old grievances, but instead built on a newfound foundation of respect? The mere possibility ignited a warm flicker of hope within Aurora, who allowed herself to imagine familial connections untainted by past grievances. She could envision a future emboldened by mutual respect and a shared understanding forged through authenticity. The contours of their relationship, once sharp and perilous, began to smoothen, allowing for a more nurturing embrace between mother and daughter. Yet the exploration of this potential was not to be undertaken lightly. Aurora recognized that the beautiful potential of their relationship resided within a broader landscape, one that required careful navigation of trust and boundaries. She understood that the cultivation of this fragile new terrain demanded relentless patience, nurturing each green shoot with the vigilance and care of a seasoned gardener. The journey of self-reflection unveiled an undeniable core. Aurora was content in her newfound autonomy. Her life, untethered from the demands and impositions of her previous entanglements, blossomed in the light of this hard-won independence. She cherished the calm and unburdened existence she had painstakingly created, founded upon a bedrock of respect for herself and her values that once lay dormant under societal obligations and familial expectations. This sense of harmony was enriched through her engagements outside of her familial ties. Activities once overlooked now shimmered with potential, drawing Aurora into their embrace. Her community engagements blossomed into vibrant connections, each interaction weaving a new thread into the canvas of her social fabric. Kindred spirits she encountered during volunteer work and other ventures enriched her perspective, providing a fellowship that transcended the remnants of her previous isolation. The path forward, Aurora discovered, was not one of solitary ascension but rather a merging of old and new. It could be a powerful coexistence where the lessons of her journey reinforced her resolve to uphold the principles she steadfastly held. This new understanding echoed the possibility of reintegration with Melissa, tempered by resolute clarity regarding the necessity of maintaining firm boundaries. Respect, once so perilously absent, was now the compass guiding their potential reconciliation. Looking forward, Aurora envisioned a transformed relationship, a tapestry yet to be woven. The vibrant hues of hope and healing began to seep through each thread, promising a future not defined by past failings, but illuminated by growth and understanding. In light of all she had endured, her daughter's sincere efforts kindled a reluctant optimism within Aurora. She recognized that the potential for repair was not merely an abstract concept, but an accessible reality that required dedication and authenticity from them both. Holding on to this delicate balance, Aurora found strength in her ability to determine her path forward, aware that the future held untold promise. Her story was now infused with the possibility of redemption, underscored by the wisdom she carried like a guiding lantern through the darkness. And in this new dawn, she stood ready to embrace the unfolding of her journey with courage and grace. For Aurora, the road to rebuilding was paved with cautious optimism and deliberate actions. As she navigated this new chapter, one could sense the delicate balancing act she was undertaking, protecting her newly found independence while remaining open to the rejuvenation of some family ties. It was a challenge she embraced with dignity, a testament to the strength she had painstakingly forged in the crucible of past betrayals. The boundaries she established were firm yet fair, designed to nurture the fragile peace that now enveloped her relationship with Melissa. By allowing regular visits with her granddaughter, Marina, Aurora embraced a chance to mend what had once been broken, albeit with guarded enthusiasm. Each visit was a symphony in itself, with the pure, untangled laughter of Marina acting as its most lilting note. The rules were unspoken, yet understood interactions remained limited to ensure that respect, her long-sought compass, remained unwaveringly intact. The presence of Marina became a beacon of joy in Aurora's life, a source of replenishment for her soul. Here was a tangible connection to the future, unmarred by the scars of yesteryears, offering Aurora a glimpse of unblemished love and potential that seemed almost ethereal. In these moments, the walls of caution around Aurora's heart softened slightly, nudged by the natural, unpretentious bond that only a grandparent and grandchild can share. They were afternoons filled with walks in the park, storytelling sessions under the shady embrace of a backyard tree, and moments of quiet understanding that needed no words. Yet Aurora's reunions with Melissa were approached with tempered wariness. Mindful of the past, she maintained a distinct separation between the individual interactions she had with both her daughter and granddaughter. This deliberate structuring was not just a reaction to Melissa's previous betrayals, but a protective measure. It ensured that the relationship they were endeavoring to rebuild could thrive on sincerity and mutual respect. Aurora's resolve manifested itself in subtle yet profound ways. She vigilantly assessed every move, every word exchanged, as if running an emotional audit to weigh authenticity. It was a dance of cautious engagement and firm resolve that demanded patience and unwavering clarity of her principles. She understood that true healing could only occur within a space where respect was not just professed, but consistently enacted. Melissa, for her part, demonstrated a budding awareness of the boundaries her mother had woven into the fabric of their newfound interactions. Her efforts were palpable, marked by small gestures of consideration and a desire to engage without overstepping the newly erected boundaries. Gone was the indifference and presumption that once colored her behaviors. In their place stood a woman, endeavoring to rebuild trust brick by careful brick under the watchful eye of the mother she had once dismissed so easily. Aurora continued to cherish the independence she had fiercely protected. Her life, now colored by a broader palette of experiences and connections, was a testament to the personal freedoms she had reclaimed. Community activities flourished, her social circle widened, and each day was a conscious celebration of her values, an immutable promise she made to herself. No longer tethered to the corrosive dynamics of her past, she found joy in simple things: the half-smile of a stranger at the local farmer's market, the lively chatter of new friends met through her volunteer work, the serene mornings spent with a book and a cup of tea in her self-crafted solitude. These were the elements of a life reclaimed, strengthened through adversity, and bound by the resolve to maintain her self-worth. Each step Aurora took affirmed her belief that the journey towards healing was just as vital as its destination. It wasn't just about the potential for familial reconciliation, it was about crafting a future where her happiness did not hinge on the acceptance of others. As Aurora evaluated the intricate weave of relationships and experiences, old threads untangled, new ones freshly spun, she found herself infused with a profound peace and readiness to embrace whatever unfolded next. This deliberate reconstruction of Aurora's life became an illustrative narrative for those who knew it, a reminder that redemption and growth, even amidst the ashes of betrayal and heartache, remain a distinct possibility. With each passing day fortified by clarity and self-respect, Aurora ventured further into this new chapter with profound courage, always aware, always hopeful. Aurora's newfound peace was not simply an absence of conflict, but rather the presence of conditions that fostered growth and authenticity in her life. Her journey, on which she embarked with courage, was replete with intentional choices that tilted the scales of her life towards fulfillment. These choices reflected a deep understanding of her value crystallized through the crucible of past betrayals and conflicts. This realization was not born of bitterness or shackled by anger, but emerged from a profound sense of self-respect that demanded affirmation. Her days were now largely composed of freedom-induced activities, each a testament to her liberation from the chains of expectation. At community centers, she became a fixture of vibrant energy, her presence welcomed by fellow volunteers and participants alike. It was here, amidst the laughter and shared stories, that Aurora found herself again. Conversations flowed like the gentle trickle of a stream, buoyed by mutual respect and kinship. These moments, free from the shadow of judgment, were the building blocks of her renewed life. Although once tarnished by family discord, her resolve remained unyielding, steering her on the path of her design. Aurora's engagement with her social circle expanded her horizon, each encounter adding a layer of vibrancy to her tapestry of experiences. The language of true friendship, one that respects boundaries while nurturing growth, was a tongue she now spoke fluently. The bonds she knit with Rose, Mary, and Anne offered reminders of her intrinsic ability to connect, allowing her to breathe in the nourishment these relationships bestowed upon her spirit. In this chapter of her existence, the art of solitude had become her canvas. The mornings were particularly sacred. The rhythm of her days commenced gently as she cradled a steaming cup of tea, content in the library of her choosing. Books lined the shelves, clicked neatly into their slots as though understanding the refuge they provided to their reader. No longer escapism, they served as passports into realms that fortified her resolve and broadened her understanding, guiding her through the present and toward the future she envisioned. Aurora's relationship with her granddaughter Marina also thrived this connection, unassailable by the shadows that marred her history with Melissa. Marina, with her youthful exuberance and unprejudiced heart, was a vessel of pure joy for Aurora. Their activities ranged from baking afternoons where flour-dusted countertops told tales of their culinary adventures to serene strolls through local parks, their laughter echoing under the canopy of ancient trees. With each shared smile and impromptu dance, Marina represented both lineage and legacy, encapsulating the bond untainted by past grievances. Not everything was forgotten, nor could it be, but the weight of previous conflicts was lessened by the wisdom Aurora wielded, her capacity for forgiveness tempered and measured. It wasn't a sweeping gesture, but a carefully sewn cloak of understanding worn with dignity rather than surrendered in submission. This ability to forgive was a power, a strategic choice, not a reluctant concession. It preserved her autonomy while allowing for the possibility of healing on terms that respected her dignity. With the redefinition of her financial strategies and plans, she crafted a future immune to exploitation. The stark clarity with which she defended her boundaries stood as a testament to her personal metamorphosis. Each decision, imbued with pragmatism and foresight, consolidated the legacy she envisioned, not just for herself, but for those who genuinely valued her presence. The very act of creating and adhering to these boundaries was a declaration of her newfound resilience, a vow never to be undermined again. Aurora approached each day with a quiet determination, embracing small acts that aligned with her values. Her narrative intertwined self-sufficiency with community engagement, an ebb and flow that grounded her continuously expanding sense of identity. Whether immersed in the warm chatter of a neighborhood gathering or paused in solitary reflection, she thrived in this orchestration of independence and unity. Her life became a harmonious symphony, one that sang of renewal and echoes of hard-won peace. The story of Aurora transcended mere survival. It was instead a clarion call, championing the virtues of self-worth and integrity. Each action and decision illustrated the potential for transformation beyond betrayal, positing personal redemption as an achievable goal, not an abstract concept. As Aurora paved the road forward, she did so aware of the power within her grasp, the ability to reopen doors, to rebuild bridges, or to walk paths alone with contentment in her heart. Whatever her next steps would be, they held the promise of authenticity and the profound possibility of lifelong fulfillment. As the echoes of basketball games and familiar gatherings faded, the walls themselves seemed to mutter about the absence that now sat heavy in the home Aurora once knew. In this new silence, Melissa wandered through the corridor, only the overlooked details keeping her company. She found herself surrounded by unspoken conversations, footfalls that no longer carried the weight they once did. The light that used to play warmly across her mother's face now seemed dimmed, the shadows stretching longer, reaching into her conscience with icy fingers. Melissa faced the reality of fallen pillars. The foundations she believed were eternal now crumbled like ash between her fingers. Alone in her contemplation, she held nothing but echoes, each one a reminder of the silence she provoked. Her journey through turbulence and uncertainty mirrored the slow unraveling of a thread once thought unbreakable. She realized that trust once fractured never shimmers with the same luster. It morphs into a landscape of caution and guarded steps, a dance where every footfall can signal either reunion or final separation. From this collapse emerged a different journey for Aurora, one woven from resilience and muted strength rather than words spoken aloud. Her world was no longer dictated by the caprices of those who had once defined her. Instead, it breathed with the quiet maturity of a life sculpted from introspection and self-possession. She walked through her world with an ownership untainted by need for acknowledgement. Silence wrapped itself around her, not as an empty void, but as a testament to her inner peace, a tangible testament to battles victoriously fought. Aurora had redefined her narrative, where her whispers of independence became the roar of 1,000 victories. The transformation did not come with the theatrics of trumpets or ceremony, but with a quiet, almost sacred reclamation. She reclaimed her story not as a reaction, but as a proclamation of her renewal. Her silence was not simply the absence of noise, it was the sound of serenity wrapping around her like an invincible shield, a kingdom of solitude inviting only the worthy to venture in. And you, the onlooker, the listener to this unfolding tale, how does it resonate within your own narrative? What does it evoke? Does it stir the courage to remain silent when silence speaks louder than any cry for revenge? Consider the patience. It demanded of Aurora the restraint in allowing the truth to carve its own path into recognition. Would you have the endurance to wait for consequences to echo into realization? As you ponder this, realize that what unfolds is not merely a story, but an invitation to reflect, a provocation to introspection. This narrative offers no neatly wrapped conclusions or prescribed wisdom. It simply exists much like the natural cadence of life, where not all questions seek immediate answers. Some closures are elusive, wandering away as hushed whispers of what once was, leaving traces of their journey in the empty spaces left behind. There, in the stillness of an unlocked heart, forgiveness lies. It waits patiently, as sure as the dawn follows the night, offering a gateway for those who dare venture. Freedom in its simplest form greets us within the solitude of an empty room where deep breaths can carry away the past and usher in a new beginning. Betrayals once discarded yet never forgotten remain as quiet reminders like that forgotten ring lying silently on the floor, gathering dust until remembered never again to burden the bearer with its once heavy promise. This encounter with destiny, this dance of events shaped by both bold decisions and tender silences, concludes without fanfare. Aurora's journey does not dwell within the constraints of loud redemption or resounding victory. Instead, it nestles within the sanctity of gentle resolve, a retreating figure bathed in the light of newfound understanding. The pages turn softly as we part from Aurora's saga, leaving behind not triumphant exclamations, but the solemn beauty of an ending both muted and sacred, much like life itself.